Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today on this fine afternoon? What is it, Friday afternoon? Or should I say good morning or good evening to some of you who are in other parts of the world? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dune and Friends. Today we have a really fantastic guest joining us. All the way from Sherwood Park, Alberta, in fact, or in the Edmonton area. And Mr. Alan Quilley is going to join us today. And we're going to talk about lots of different things. But first, let me just do a quick introduction here, so you know who you would be hearing from for the hour here. Alan Quilley, CRSP. Alan is an author, educator, and popular conference presenter. His outspoken and humorous style is thought-provoking and very inspiring. He brings to his presentation over 4 years, 4 decades of international OH&S experience in municipal, healthcare, transportation, oil and gas, and government, OH&S. So that's the occupational health and safety for those of us who just want to be reminded of the acronym there. So Alan is married to Marie, and is a very proud family man with 5 children and 5 grandchildren. His hobbies include performing and recording music and woodworking and carpentry and traveling to warm climates. A little bit selective there. And sometimes he looks like Santa Claus. And as you can see in that picture there, he and his friend Mickey, some of you might recognize Mickey there. But so with that introduction, please join me in welcoming Mr. Alan Quilley. Alan, can you hear me, my friend?
I can. Thank you, Dune. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good.
This is an interesting place we find ourselves.
Yes, yes. Well, different times call for different kind of tactics, and here we are connecting our community through these conversations that can be. Hopefully, our guests are joining us today online here, and then certainly later we have. Oh, look at that! Somebody says hello from Croatia already. See, it's international, my friend. Alan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let me just kind of feature that comment there, right? And so all the way from Croatia. And
Well, hello, Joseph.
mhm, yeah. So, Alan, before we get into the conversation, which includes all kinds of stuff, we're going to talk about certainly occupational health and safety, and an extension of that, or a foundational thing of that, is really human behavior, and just sharing ideas and talking about that, but also a lot about music as well. Work is important, and all the different things, but also music is important to you and I, and so we're going to talk about that as well, and I'm going to share some videos and all of that stuff. But before we got into that, tell us a bit of a backstory, beyond the profile, the bio that I've shared with the audience there. Tell us a bit more about how Alan Crowley came to today.
Well, wow. I was born some decades ago,
Mhm.
and in Edmonton,
Oh,
actually. And so I'm an Edmontonian. I've been an Edmontonian, and in that around this area most of my life, even though I've moved further south briefly.
mhm.
But I grew up here at Edmonton, and I had a very interesting, good childhood. I hear stories from folks who had struggles that I just did not have. I had a very happy childhood,
Mhm.
and I came to music relatively early. I think it was when I first saw the opening scene of Hard Day's Night,
Mm.
where the Beatles, you may remember the Beatles are running down the street and there's a whole bunch of girls chasing them.
Okay, yeah.
And at the time, I thought, like most people back then, that if you bought a guitar, that girls would chase you. So, I think, I think we all believe that actually.
Yeah.
So we all ran off and bought those cheap guitars from the department stores, and I learned to play guitar, and probably saved my life. I
Mm.
spent a lot of time playing guitar and learning to be a musician,
Mhm.
and and then, as a young man, I was looking for careers and what am I going to do? And I ended up on the railroad fixing railway cars, which was really interesting, and it did me a lot of good to become a problem solver. Fixing railway cars is hard work, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot out of you, and it makes you strong, and it makes you a good problem solver. Because when you get a railway car to come into the shop, it's not necessarily, you don't have a plan in front of you to fix it. You
Hmm.
have to innovate. You have to make it up as you go along sometimes. So that taught me some problem solving skills, and I had some great, we called them mates. Those were the tradesmen that were teaching the apprentices. And I
Hmm.
had some great leaders in my life. And that's probably the start of my understanding what a good mentor can be to someone. I
Yeah.
had some really good mentors, and I learned a lot.
Hmm.
And while I was at the railroad, the Canadian government passed the first occupational health and safety law in Canada to relate to the railroads. It was the Canada Labor Code. And
Hmm.
all of a sudden, we had to do all kinds of things.
Hmm.
One of those things was we needed a safety committee.
Hmm.
And I don't remember volunteering. I really don't remember volunteering. But I'm sure it was one of those situations where we're all standing around. The foreman says we need a volunteer, and all the older guys step back and
Yeah.
left me out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got voluntold, as it were, and I ended up on a safety committee. And one thing led to another. I took a first aid course. I ended up being a first aid attendant. I ended up instructing first aid. And then in '78, the government of Alberta passed the occupational health and safety law in Alberta. And it took them a while to get their department together, but they hired me, and I was one of the youngest OH&S officers in the province.
Hmm.
And it was our job to run around the province and get people to comply with a brand new law that they knew nothing about.
Hmm.
So those were interesting and hard times,
Yeah.
for sure. Then I was quite thrilled with the idea of helping people go home
Hmm.
at night.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another. I took a number of jobs, worked for the city of Edmonton, city of Calgary, went back to CN for a while. Actually managed the Capital Health and Safety process during SARS. So
Hmm.
this COVID thing is a bit of a repeating nightmare
Yeah.
for me. But anyway, and then I during that time I was educating adults through the University of Alberta, and that led me down a path of being an adult educator
Hmm.
and designing some programs, and I continue that to this day. So that's me. All the time I was doing that, raising family and playing music. So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's how I got here.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing this kind of story. It's always now I just heard an echo. Is it on your side coming back?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
don't think I'm loud enough to do that.
Okay, I will. Oh, that seemed to help. Whatever, but maybe. So I was just saying that it's always good to kind of hear the background that people sort of have lived and experienced, because a lot of the time it shapes who we are, shapes how we see the world. So thank you for sharing that. Now you and I have a few things in common, whether it's speaking or training or in fact music or a number of things. So even Sherwood Park, we have that in common. We're practically neighbors as well here, right?
Absolutely, and we don't get to see enough of each other. Usually, it's I remember. I think it's the last time we saw each other in person. It was in a hotel in Calgary
Yes,
during breakfast.
that's
We were
right.
both there doing some work. So,
Yeah,
yeah, paths cross. It's
you bet.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us about. Do you want to start with music, or do you want to start with sort of health and safety and psychology and stuff? Up to you. Which way do you want to kind of get into next?
Well, I think when you invited me, and thank you again for doing this. I think this idea of human behavior runs through everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think understanding humans and why we do what we do
Mm-hmm.
should be a fundamental of every human to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we get taught that. I don't think we're necessarily focused on that. I think part of the conflicts that we see in current events, some of the struggles we have with COVID and behaviors that we have to make sure we don't get infected. All of that boils down to understanding humans and why we behave the way we behave,
Mm-hmm.
and and understanding how you can improve that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's fundamental to my persona. I've
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot about that. I've taught a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
about this. And every time I do, I learn some more things about
Mm-hmm.
humans.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good place to start.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, would you like to start with that deck, or would you like to start with a video or two?
Um, let's start with the deck. Let's
All
start
right,
with the deck. Yeah,
wonderful. So while I cue it up, go ahead and start your kind of intro of it here while I cue it up.
sure. Well, what I did, I got some things briefly together so that Dune could share these with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it very much is about understanding a model of human behavior
Mm-hmm.
that it's a fairly easily understood model, even though it's complex in its nature.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Humans are built on this idea that we have behaviors to get certain consequences, and
Mm-hmm.
there are things that trigger those behaviors. There's reminders that you have. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when to know I was to be on this call, I put that in an Outlook calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an activator. So the ABCs of human behavior is activator, behavior, consequence. And I'll explain those in a little more detail. But it really is quite simple in its design. It's complex in its detail.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you could just go to the next slide.
Absolutely. Hopefully, you can see the screen there,
I
everybody.
can? Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what I often hear about is that, people want to change, and there could be a variety of reasons why you want to change. COVID is a perfect example. We need to change some of our behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think you can wake up in the morning and do exactly what you did yesterday, that's the definition of insanity. Do the same things in the same ways and expect a different answer is not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change something.
Right.
So in doing so, you need to understand how change happens. And if I can get you to go to the next one. So first of all, you need to understand your motivation. Now, when someone tells you, you must do this tomorrow, that's a different thing than you deciding what to do tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I have authority over you, or I can manage the consequence and give you something negative, or force you to do that, that's one model.
Mm-hmm.
And we've certainly seen this in world events where people are trying to get other people to do things, and they're using force to do that. And yes, it can work, but you get a very poor outcome. So you can make a bunch of rules. The government can make a bunch of rules. They do, certainly in my business, occupational health and safety. But if you're using that as the major motivation to do something, that's not necessarily the best motivator.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're working for companies, and there's some great companies out there that want you to be safe, or want you to be healthy, want you to do the right thing. But you don't really do it for your company. You should find the motivation within you.
Mm-hmm.
Do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Be safe so someone else doesn't have to raise your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Be healthy so that you're here for your children and your grandchildren. Be healthy so that you don't give COVID to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So those are internal reasons. Now, yeah, the government can force you and give you a ticket for running around without a mask. And yeah, that's a model that we can use, but it's not very effective.
Mm-hmm.
So the most effective understanding of the ABCs of human behavior is to get self-motivated. Do it for the right reasons. Do it for your family. Do it so someone doesn't have to come and feed your dog because you're in the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I can get you to move on. So ABCs, pretty simple. If I can go to the next one. Each one of those letters stands for something. If you can play this video, we'll see the labels of human behavior.
Absolutely. While I cue it up, go ahead and talk about it. It should just be a second here.
Well, when I'm presenting, I often use humor to to make a point, and I found this video some years ago, and I think it's a perfect example of humans acting in very human ways. We do things, we act within our environment, and sometimes it goes well for us, and sometimes not.
Let me just bring it up on screen here, and we can have a look. Actually, let me just do that again here, because that didn't quite go that.
No, wrong one.
Whoops. I fast forward our agenda a little bit there by accident.
Yeah, we could talk about that if you want.
Um, you know, for some reason I did not have that handy
Let,
there.
let's not worry about it, Doom. Let's just go back to the slide deck.
Yeah. Okay.
What happens in the video is the guy's jogging along, and the activator is that the machine stops working. It starts to malfunction. So he stops to investigate, which is something that seems reasonable. And while he's investigating, he's crouched down on that treadmill, it starts up again and it sends him flying. So the activator in this story, in this little video, is that the activator is doing something. Something activates him to have a different behavior. The machine stops working, so he chooses a behavior and then feels the consequences of a fairly bad decision. You shouldn't be adjusting machines while they're under power, while you've placed yourself in danger. So those are the ABCs. Activator, we have a lot of those in our lives. Behavior is what we do. We just act. We think about things, and then we do things. I pick up my coffee cup. I have a drink. That's a behavior. I come to this meeting. I sign into this meeting, and we talk. Those are all behaviors, and I do all of those things, and all humans do those things for the consequences. What happens when we do them? So this makes me feel good because I like to talk to people. I think it's a great opportunity to share some ideas. So I'm getting an internal positive consequence for being on this call. And I'm hoping that people who are on the call with us are enjoying it and learning something. And hopefully they're here to do that. So if we could just slip to the next slide. So that's it. Activators are those things that happen to motivate the behavior, to trigger the behavior. Behavior is what you do. It's an action that's taken by a person. And the consequences are what is the natural the result that comes of my having that behavior. So if you go to the next slide. So if you look at the process, you would say to yourself, what behavior do I want to have? And let's take COVID for an example. I want to be better at wearing my mask. Well, what would be the activator that would help me do that? Well, Marie and I are wearing masks when we go out, and we use each other to remind each other, and we have a place to put the masks. We know where they are. We've decided where they are, and we take them out and put them in our pockets every time we go shopping, and then we put them on as we get out of the car. We put them on before we go to the shop, and those are the behaviors that we've decided to have. When we go in the shop, we do that, and we come out of the shop and we take the masks off, put them in the bag so that we can wash them, and we get the consequence of feeling like we've protected our fellow human while we're there, and probably protected ourselves a little bit. Cloth masks are really about protecting others and not protecting you. But I feel good about it, and I'm going to continue that behavior because that's the ABC model. Activator, I got the mask handy. Behavior, I wear the mask. C, I feel good about it. It's not a mystery why humans do it. Now, there's all kinds of desired behaviors that people can have. I constantly hear about people wanting to go on a diet. Oh, I got a few more pounds, and you got the COVID waistline, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's sitting here snacking, watching streaming videos rather than going to work. Well, fair ball. You've decided that you want to eat more healthy. So once you define those as behaviors rather than an outcome, I want to be thinner. No, you want to start. What? How are you going to get thinner? Well, I'm going to eat more responsibly. I'm going to eat better foods. I'm going to eat healthier foods. Good. So those are the behaviors. How do you build that into an ABC model? And it might be you want to increase your fitness routine. I know Marie and I, we bought some bicycles late last year. And
Beautiful bicycles, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're very comfortable to ride, and we're not going on marathon kinds of rides. We're just going to ride around the neighborhood. But we were waiting for the county to sweep the roads because there's a lot of gravel on the roads, and I'm too old to be slipping and sliding on gravel. So they've just done that. I looked at them the other day and said to Marie, "We got to take those down." So probably later today we'll go for a bike ride. So that's the decision. We've decided to be better fit, and we've turned that into desired behaviors. You and I, as we were getting ready for this meeting, we both like to be on time. So being on time is a desire. I want to be on time. That's a desired behavior. And then there's some things you have to do to make sure that you're on time. And those people who are perpetually late, it's because they have the behaviors that won't get them on time. So if you want to be on time, you're going to have to use things like Outlook calendar. You're going to have to use things that would remind you that you've got to be somewhere, and then you've got to do that in enough time to get there. In 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 being healthier, especially with this COVID, we need to be more diligent with hand washing and distancing. Those are all behaviors, and we need to get to those, and they're going to work if you develop a model.
Right.
Last night I was sitting here playing my guitar and thinking I need to practice better. Rather than pick up my guitar and play something I already know how to play, I need to play something that is a challenge for me that I don't already know how to do. I mean, Dune, you and I both have muscle memory when it comes to guitar.
Yes.
We can play guitar and talk. As a matter of fact, I do that often in our presentation. I think you might have a video of me doing that. I can do this. I've done it so much, and I'm talking about since I was 14. So I have done this so much that I can actually play a song and not think about that at all while I make up a speech. I can wing it while I'm winging it on the guitar because I know it so well. So that's a behavior that's practiced. That's a habit I'm in. And the best behaviors, if you want healthy behaviors, are the ones that you turn into a habit.
Yeah. Do you buy into the idea of habits takes, roughly speaking, 21 days, or is 21 anything like that, or is it?
Well, I've certainly read that, and there's some great books, and I've got them on some slide there so that people can see them later. But I'm not sure that it's that solid, it's that rigid. I think depending on how important it is to you, you can get a habit overnight. You can do it immediately, especially if the consequences are severe.
Yeah.
I changed my behavior around hand washing when I was dealing with SARS. Realizing that, and statistically, we know about 60% of disease could be eliminated from people getting sick and ending up in the hospital just by washing our hands more often. So I got in the habit of washing my hands more diligently, and it makes a difference, and I feel good about that. So those who haven't gone through that process, you think about hand washing. Okay, well, how am I going to remember to do hand washing? Well, whatever it takes to remind you to do that until it just gets to be a habit with you. I don't know, Dune, I have a routine when I leave the house. I check my pockets.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Not the pockets, but I check a few things. I have a habit that says when I leave a place, I look back to where I was sitting or standing. I look back and see anything there before I leave it. That's a sort of something that I implemented.
Okay, fair ball.
Yeah.
Well, when I leave the house, I check for my wallet, I check for my keys, and those are routines. And I
Mhm.
check for my phone.
Mhm.
And the chances of me leaving the house without my phone and keys and wallet is
Mhm.
very. It's a very rare occasion. It does happen,
Mhm.
but it's very rare because I've got in the habit of doing that.
Mhm.
So those positive habits, just like bad habits, we can get into bad habits too, but and they work the same. They're ABCs. You
Mhm.
have bad habits because of the consequences.
Mhm.
I mean, why do we eat all the sugary, salty foods? It's because it feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And your ancestors who went on uh, to give you their DNA, they were the ones that ate all the fats and survived. So
Mhm.
the chances of us being slim, trim individuals comes from a good portion of that comes from our DNA. Right, you're
Mhm.
built to store fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Because your ancestors who survived were good at storing fat. So,
Yeah.
anyway, we're getting a little off topic. If you could go to the next slide. So, once you decide the behavior, let's say it's I want to do those things that the experts are telling us about COVID. So, I want to remember to wash my hands. I want to remember to social distance. I want to remember to wear my mask. So, a good way to do that is first to select my activator. What's going to remind me to do that? So
Mhm.
maybe some folks need to put it in their Outlook calendar. Remember to take your mask with you. I've got a picture of post-it notes. I use post-it notes myself.
Mhm.
I'll write a little post-it note and put it on something that I'm going to see. Particularly if I'm going out to do a presentation, and sometimes I take my guitar. I'll put my guitar by the door
Mhm.
because that way I won't forget it. And I do that well in advance.
Mhm.
Sometimes I set a timer. I'm not really good at shutting things off. I do a lot of the cooking around here,
Mhm.
and I'll turn on the stove. And then when I'm getting food ready, I don't necessarily turn off the stove. So sometimes Marie has to remind me that I need to shut off the stove. She's acting as an activator to get me to have that behavior. So whatever it is that helps you remember to do those things
Mhm.
before you get it to a habit. Once you get it into a habit, you're not going to rely so much on the activator. So a sign, a
Yeah.
picture.
In other words, I do a lot of teaching in these kinds of areas. Our training and kind of work with the organizations are very similar in many ways. Although obviously you're a safety expert, kind of focused there with all of the human behaviors on that. And my thing is more of a leadership and management with human behaviors overlaying that. And one of the things I would say to this is that I'm hearing you say, make sure you put down a process and then follow it, right? Because if you have a
Absolutely.
process and follow it, you're going to get more consistent results. So you say, if you want different results, you have to look at your process and say, what has to change, and then commit to that process. And not perfect, but right, follow it.
Well, a good example. I do some coaching as well, and many of the people I deal with are senior leaders,
Hmm.
and I say, nobody's going to know that's important to you unless you get out of your office and tell people. You
Hmm.
need to interact with people. You need to engage with people. So, it's one thing to think about, oh my God, I should go talk to my workers about how important safety is, or whatever the subject, quality of product, whatever the leader wants to have happen. Well, that's a behavior they're going to have to get in the habit of doing. And
Hmm.
once they get it, I've been successful enough that leaders have come back and said, "I'll never go back to the old way of being."
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I do get out of my office and I do talk to people. I
Hmm.
wasn't doing that, but I reminded myself to do it, and I got in the habit of doing it. And guess what? I've got a new behavior. I've got a new normal, and I just do it now. I don't have to think about it. I used to have to put it in my Outlook calendar.
Hmm.
Oh, it's Tuesday. I got to go talk to my troop.
Hmm.
Well, that felt uncomfortable at first, like most change. But once you get to do that and you see the repercussions of it, and you build an ABC model activator, I'll go talk to the troop behavior. I'm going to go do it, and the consequence is, my God, I learned a lot today from the people I work with.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that consequence drives that behavior, and it makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely. You talk about consequences. Here they are.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. I was lucky enough to meet Aubrey Daniels, and Aubrey's written a great book, and I've got a slide on all these books, so I won't I won't bother with all that. Anyway, he talks about consequences that are going to increase the chances you will have a behavior.
Mm.
So uh, ideally, it's positive. Positive consequences work way better than negative. So
Hmm.
if you get something that you want, for example, in that leader example, he wants to know more about his organization. He wants to feel like he's a better leader. Okay, so I'm going to go do this behavior that's going to have me talk to people, and I'm going to feel that consequence. That feels positive to me to know more about our organization. It
Hmm.
feels really positive.
Hmm.
Now, another another thing that increases the chances the behavior will happen is you avoid a negative. You don't want something to happen.
Hmm.
I mean, that's why most of us pay our taxes.
Hmm.
Ask Willie Nelson what happens if you don't pay your taxes. The
Hmm.
government of the USA. And Willie is a fine American. He's a proud American. He didn't want to cheat anybody on the taxes. He thought someone else was taking care of it. They weren't. He got into huge tax debt, and they just came and got his stuff. They took everything away from him to make up his tax debt. So we don't want that to happen to us. So sometimes we do things to avoid the negative.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure most of our listeners, most of the people we know, you pay your taxes. Why? Because the government of Canada or wherever you're from will probably take your stuff. So we don't want that to happen. We do our behavior to
Hmm.
avoid things.
Yeah.
Now there are uses for negative uh, um, consequences. If you want to stop someone from doing something, and that's the next slide, dude.
Hmm.
If you want to stop a behavior, you give somebody something they don't want.
Mm.
That's an ideal example is jaywalk in front of a police officer. I
Hmm.
did that when I was a young man, and they stopped me and gave me a ticket.
Hmm.
I didn't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. And that early experience, I got to tell you, I don't jaywalk very often
Hmm.
because I don't want to pay the ticket. I
Hmm.
got something I didn't want. I don't want that.
Hmm.
And the other negative side of this, a consequence, is if you do something and nobody notices
Hmm.
and you don't get anything for it, well, they call that extinction. You're going to make that behavior extinct.
Hmm.
I've been to places that say must wear a hard hat. You cross this line, got to wear a hard hat. And then I
Hmm.
get behind the line, that line of death that says, "Oh my God, here's the rule." And then I get behind and I see nobody's wearing hard hats.
Hmm.
All that tells me is they're not giving anyone any consequence one way or another.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can wear a hard hat, you cannot wear a hard hat. They've got lax on the rules.
Yeah.
It's like the leader we were talking about.
Hmm.
If a senior leader says to everyone, and I have had senior leaders do this, I want you to engage with your people. I want you to meet once a week with your
Hmm.
people, and make that better.
Hmm.
But if they never measure that, if they never ask about that again, the
Yeah.
chances of that happening are zero.
Yeah.
Why
It's
would you do something that nobody thinks is important?
yeah. There's a phrase that says, "It's not what you expect; it is what you inspect."
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. So, Dune, if we're working together and we both say, we should get better at wearing our hard hats.
Hmm.
So when I cross that line in that imaginary company that they aren't enforcing, then Dune would say to Al, you forgot your hard hat. He'd say, oh,
Hmm.
thanks, Dune. And I'd put it on. And if you forgot, I would do it.
Hmm.
And the companies I work with, when we get workers to help each other with that ABC model, it works really well. I mean, the activator is, my goodness, Dune told me, Dune
Hmm.
reminded me. Well, good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. You didn't have to hit me with a stick. He didn't have to threaten me. He just
Yeah.
said, hey, remember how we said we were going to do this?
Yeah.
And we reminded each other. And that's how management teams can really get good at some of these behaviors that they want to have, these great leadership behaviors. Is they got to set it up, and they have to measure those things, and they have to give themselves that consequence that says, I feel good about this. I
Hmm.
promised someone I would do it, and now I'm doing it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Makes a difference.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So enough theory. Let's just give some people some practical ideas. How do we make this work? So hand washing. I want to get better at hand washing. So, Dune, I'm going to use you as my guinea pig because
Sure.
you're the only one that I can really talk to here. So, what would be an idea of how would you activate that hand washing? If you wanted to get better at hand washing, what is something you could do to make that more likely?
I would make sure that the soap is right there where every sink in the house, there would be soap. That would be one thing.
Yep.
The other thing is, well, if the soap is there, but if I don't ever go to the sink, that would be a problem. So if I want to wash my hands 3 or 4 times a day, the question is, how do I remind myself doing that? You mentioned sticky notes. You mentioned, whatever. So let's just say I go to my my kitchen to eat at lunch before I return to my home office to kind of work. Maybe in the kitchen I could put a little sticky note or something that reminds me until it becomes a habit. So two
Right.
ideas there. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are perfect. Those are perfect. And it's best for activators to come from the people who want the behavior.
Hmm.
So if you're struggling, oh God, I keep forgetting about the hand washing. Well, print this poster, put it on the fridge. It doesn't matter. Try something. Try
Hmm.
something and see if it reminds you to have the behavior.
Hmm.
You're mentioning about making it easy. Have the soap right there.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Humans are fundamentally lazy. If you have to walk 20 feet to go get that soap, you're going to pass it by.
Hmm.
Make it easy for yourself. So those are the activators.
Hmm.
Hand washing. Now, once you get that behavior, my goodness, feel good about that. There's no one going to give you an award for hand washing.
Hmm.
Someone's not going to give you a raise in your pay, but
Hmm.
you should internalize that and say, I'm keeping myself healthy. I'm
Hmm.
not getting sick. I'm not giving it to somebody else because I'm being diligent about hand washing. And I got to tell you, that's one of the greatest consequences people can give them to themselves, and to really change behaviors. Feel good about what you're doing.
Hmm.
Be diligent because it's the right thing to do.
Hmm.
All right,
Hmm.
if you can move on.
Yeah.
We've already talked about, you know, I mean the face covering, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about that. Medical workers are supposed to wear fit tested respirators. These are sealed respirators, and that stops them from breathing in the bad stuff.
Hmm.
The cloth masks that people are being asked to wear are really about not getting you to infect other people.
Hmm.
It's not really going to protect you, because if you walk into a sneeze wake that of someone's got COVID, there's nothing sealing about that mask. You could very well get infected. But it is about stopping the projectiles as I sneeze, as I cough. There was even some talk about people singing,
Hmm.
because singing is a moist thing to do.
Hmm.
You're spitting, and if you're infected, you can infect others. So put the mask on. Put a barrier between you and hopefully someone won't be infected by you. So how do you remember to wear a mask? I mean, put one by the door. Put a poster up. Say, hey, don't forget your mask.
Hmm.
We've just recently put some in our cars, just
Hmm.
to just in case we were just going out for a drive. We weren't planning to go anywhere where anyone was, because we've done that. Marie and I, for our mental health, we just got in the car and drove around for a while,
Hmm.
just to see the sights and get out of the house. And then you go, oh, well, we should stop in and get. Oh, we didn't have our masks.
Hmm.
So you make it easy for yourself. You make it an activator. It's in the car.
You
So
bet.
those are just some quick examples of what people can do. And I spend a lot of time talking to people about that model And it doesn't matter what the behavior is. It doesn't matter if it's a senior leader trying to get a leadership behavior or whether it's someone trying to wear a fall protection device. It's all the same process. So hopefully our listeners have got some ideas about that.
In other words, when it comes to high performance and when it comes to kind of good living and effectiveness, there's only a handful, very few kind of fundamental behaviors that has to be followed, and it transcends discipline. It transcends, business or person and whatnot. And so, what we might be talking about in the boardroom actually follows the same principles as what we might be talking about in the street.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's about human behavior and how do we get to be as good as we can be. It's not perfect. None of this is perfect. Humans aren't perfect, but you can get pretty good. It's a little like our guitar playing. And when I do play guitar at my presentations, I'm playing guitar to remind people that to get good at anything, you need to do certain things. You have to pick behaviors. You have to practice those behaviors. You have to give yourself consequences for the behaviors. Otherwise, you don't practice. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't feel good about practicing, you put the thing down. And we all know people who've wanted to be a guitar player, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, "Oh, I bought one in high school, and I couldn't get past it." Well, yeah, I got it. You didn't want it enough. You didn't
Mm-hmm.
set it up for success.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to set it up for success.
So one example of that is I tell people if you want to learn how to play guitar, you got to make it fun, right?
Absolutely.
Don't worry about how fast you're improving, how slow you're improving, because I happen to know that if fun is not part of the process, it's not going to be sustainable. So
Absolutely.
so you got to find ways to make it fun and trust that if you make it fun, you would make it sustainable and you will get better, right? So that would be one thing I would advise somebody to learn anything is make it fun, right?
Well, that's about the consequence. You're feeling good about it because I feel happy when I do that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Good.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I love this picture. I mean, it's just a reminder to everyone, after you talk to someone who's successful, after you talk to that guitar player that can play lightning fast and accurate, and he's brilliant, and we all know those guitar players, those famous guitar players. They worked hard at it, and it looks like success was a straight line. It's not a straight line. They fell down a lot. They made a lot of mistakes, and success is messy. It's
Mm-hmm.
messy. So whatever you're trying to do, don't quit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop too soon. The guitar example. The only reason you're not a guitar player, if you wanted to be a guitar player, is because you stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone who didn't stop is a guitar player. everyone that's successful is someone who just didn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't stop.
So you've written a number of books, my friends. One, two, three, four, five, or more
No,
than that, perhaps.
no, I have 5 or 6 books, but those
Mm-hmm.
aren't all mine. The
Mm.
Emperor Has No Hard Hat is the first book,
Yeah.
and certainly that changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
The Globe and Mail picked it as one of the best business book. Well, it was on the a list of the best business books the year I wrote it. So that was great for me. We got a lot of positive feedback for that. But these other books, if people are looking to learn about either safety or learn about humans so that you can interact better with humans, Bring Out the Best in People by Aubrey Daniels is absolutely great. The Power of Habit talks about exactly what we were talking about. How do we get positive habits and stop bad habits?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few safety books and a wonderful book, Thinking Fast and Slow, that talks about why people think the way they do and do what they do. So all those are great books, great reads. If anyone wants to learn more, those would be the books.
I
Those
jumped
are my,
ahead. These are
yeah,
yours.
those are mine. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you can get them at safetyresults.ca. Um, and they've held me in very good stead. They've given me opportunities to travel the world.
Mm-hmm.
People read these books and invite me to come and talk to them about what I've learned and how I do what I do, and it's been wonderful. The best thing I ever did was write a book.
You liked it so much, the consequence so much that you did 5 more. Right? Is it
Absolutely.
6? Did I count right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
One of them is a video. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Talk about consequences. Uh, I did my own publishing because I learned
Mhm.
that publishing. Paul McCartney taught us all that publishing is the way to make money.
Mhm.
So own the publishing. So I learned about publishing and I learned to do my own printing and all those things.
Yeah.
And anyway, the first time I ordered a run of my first book is I ordered 2,000 of them
Mhm.
and hoping that it all sell. Well, 2,000 books, when you think about it, it comes on 3 pallets.
Mhm.
So I had to store 3 pallets of books. I soon learned that's not. You may save money when you order 3 pallets full of books, but it's a real pain to put
Mhm.
those somewhere. So we do short runs now. I've learned
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
As they say in sort of what is it, productivity and things like that. Inventory is one of the 7 forms of waste, they say.
Oh, absolutely. Well, my books, that book in particular, I think we're in the 6th printing, so it's been very good. But it did take a little while to sell the first 2,000, and I had to deal with it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, interesting life
There,
experience.
there is a left blank intentional screen here, I think.
Yeah, and that's a good time. That's a good place to stop.
Hmm. So thank you for sharing that, Alan. Now, uh, obviously, in all of you do, whether it's safety, whether it's advising leaders and managers in sort of just organizational culture and things like that, and then into music, there seems to be a common thread there, right? The common thread, like you say, is human behavior and human psychology. And neither of us are psychologists, but I think both of us have a keen interest in human behavior and how to effectively kind of influence it for the positive way. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to take this video off screen here. And uh, now I would love to maybe share that video clip of you combining the two, combining the safety conference speaking with your guitar thing. That might be a good place to go. What do you think?
Sure, great. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So maybe give us an introduction while I cue that up.
Well, I have a lot of fun with this. I was once asked to speak at a Conference Board of Canada session. And they gave me the topic. They don't always do that, but they gave me the topic. They said they wanted to um, uh, me to talk about what makes training sticky. In other words, I've been trained and now I have a different behavior. And I had to do some research. I had to do some thinking about it. And I started thinking about, well, how do people learn to do things?
Hmm.
And I talked to a whole bunch of colleagues. I talked to my mother, who's really good at art and crafts. And what I realized is that it's pretty much universal.
Hmm.
So I took that concept and said, look, if you want to learn how to do anything, be safe, play a guitar, knit, be a carpenter, be good at conferences like you're doing here, doing. You have to
Hmm.
practice. You have to learn
Hmm.
some things and you have to practice. So I started taking my guitar as a demonstration and getting people to think about, well, what are you good at and how did you get good at it? And I'm a pretty competent guitar player. I've been doing it. You'd need to get my head examined if I wasn't, because I've played guitar for, 50 years.
Hmm.
My God, I better be competent at it. Otherwise,
Hmm.
I should have sold it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So here it is. Let's play it and let's listen to it. Good-looking young man there, my friend.
Yeah, that's what I look like when I got a haircut. Thanks. I want to be serious, and then I want to get a little lighter, and I want to get very personal. Safety is really personal, and we can talk about the downside. You saw some of the downside, I'm going to talk a little bit about the downside, because if we don't do this well, it really is a bad thing. So I want to start there, but then we're going to gradually talk about how do we make this personal, and how do we get you inspired to do what you need to do to make it safe. So while I play my guitar, I'd like you to read the screen.
Fantastic. You know, it's
Thanks.
people talk about that. They want some royalty-free music to do with their presentation, to use with their presentation. You definitely got royalty-free music and self-created live on the fly.
Well, and I know, Dune, you and I both do that. There's a little bit of a melody there that I could probably have
Mhm.
infringed on somebody, but I never know what I'm going to play.
Mhm.
I don't approach guitar that way. I say, well, let her rip. Let's see. I take what I know about music and about the chord structure and about the melody and the song, and I have one in my head, and then sometimes it comes out right, and sometimes it doesn't. But that's what I love about music. I'm not a note for note player. I would never learn note for note something off a record. I just never would do that. It's
Yeah,
just not in me.
yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah.
rather wing it.
Yeah. Well, in my mind, there's the idea of a speaker and a reader, right?
Right.
Do you want to go up there and read, or do you want to go up there and speak? And there are
Absolutely.
people who are very good at one and not so good at the other. Right?
Right. Well, I think well, both you and I have done this enough that I'm not nervous when I
Hmm.
talk in front of people
Hmm.
because it's just like I'm talking to you, dude. I'm not nervous here.
Hmm.
What's there to be nervous about? I'm going to say some things. I may stumble on my words. That's okay. I'm a human. We stumble on words and we'll get back. And I'll say something. Oh, God, I didn't mean to say that. And I can apologize for that and say, oh, God, I didn't mean to say that. We're just humans. Let's
Hmm.
just be that way. So to read something and to be very formal and we can't possibly make a mistake. I, I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's not as engaging. I'd rather see the real you than some some speech writer wrote this for you. Right?
Yeah, I agree. A little joke that flashed up to my in my head just now is, don't compete with the robots; they will win.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. They won't make mistakes. Well, the only mistake they'll make is the programmer made the mistake to make them
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I've got a few videos that I would love to share. By the way, even though we started right on time and that was important to us, I always said to my guests, if you don't have a meeting right after this and I don't have a meeting right after this, we can extend it a bit beyond the hour. Is that okay?
I'm fine. Yes, I'm enjoying this. This is great.
Great. Let's do that. I have this Emperor intro video. I have the first music movie. I have the noodling on. Where would you like to go next?
We were talking about the book, so maybe when I first wrote the book, we knew we wanted to promote that book, and
Hmm.
we were working with the fine people who do our website and things, and they made a video for me, and I wanted to use this as sort of an introduction to
Hmm.
what we were trying to talk about. The
Hmm.
idea that leaders can have a desire, but unless they really do things,
Hmm.
that desire isn't going to become reality. So that
Hmm.
was what the book was all about. It's not good enough just to think you have this solved. You
Hmm.
actually have to do something to solve it. So that's what this was the intro to the book.
So the Emperor, right?
Yep.
Wonderful. So let me go ahead and be off camera here and let it roll.
We all know the story about the emperor's new clothes, where a couple of charlatans came into town and sold the emperor on the idea that he looked really good in his new clothes. Problem was, there was no substance to the clothes. In fact, the clothes didn't exist at all. And it was during a parade where the emperor was walking through the crowd that a small child was the only one to say, the emperor's not wearing any clothes, while everyone else was clapping and telling the emperor how good he looked. That's why I named my book, The Emperor Has No Hard Hat, because I want to be the voice that says, we're not doing this very well. Traditionally, we've approached safety this way. We make a lot of rules, and then we offer to fire people for not following those rules. Don't do safety for your company. Do it so someone else doesn't raise your kid. Often we've done safety to workers and haven't given them enough information to make smart choices. We've just said, welcome aboard, come work with me, and oh, by the way, you have to wear a hard hat. And we haven't talked to them about the reasons for wearing the hard hat. We haven't asked them, where are the dangers of your work? And where do you think you need to wear a hard hat? You don't do it because there's a rule book. You do it because I want to survive. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. And when I wear a hard hat, I put it on not because the safety guy told me, but because I want to protect my head. And when we talk about safety like that, and we engage employees like that, that gets safety. Traditional approaches to safety are based on theories and models that were developed in the 1930s. If we're going to manage safety differently to get different results, we're going to have to let go of some myths that we've come to believe as absolute truths. The absolute favorite myth I have about safety is that safety is number one. In what company could safety be number one? It just simply isn't true. Safety should not be put in competition with production. Production is number one. What I'd like to see is safe production being number one. It becomes a quality of the production. We're going to get these widgets made as quickly and as efficiently as we possibly can, safely. How is operations training and safety training different? If I train a worker to enter into a confined space to weld something, what part of their training is safety training and what part is operations training? And how would I tell the difference?
Great trip down memory lane. How many years ago was this?
That was 2005, so already 15 years. Yeah, I looked younger back then, didn't I?
Great video.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, so I agree so much that the whole safety thing. When I think about it, to me, it's about motivation and it's about process. If you got the motivation and the process kind of dealt with or addressed, you tend to have a more successful journey with safety and whatever else, right?
Absolutely. And then you go back to the fundamentals of how do I make it easy for someone? I often ask the crowd when I'm doing presentations, how many of you stood on a chair? Well, everyone raises their hands. Well, I mean, you're not supposed to stand on a chair, but the reason you do it is because the chair is there and the ladder isn't. So if you want to stop standing on a chair, you got to put ladders where they are handy. Using a knife as a screwdriver in your kitchen. Of course you've done that. Why? Because the knife is there. The screwdrivers are in my garage. Well, take some screwdrivers and put them in your kitchen drawer and then make it easy for you to do the right thing. And so when we engage workers and we talk to workers about how do we make your job easier, that's where we get to. We start talking about those things. And frankly, some of them are not hard to solve. I'll never forget, I was at a gas plant, and gas plants can be really dangerous places if you don't follow the rules. There's a process. They know what the dangers are. You need to do the right thing. And at this gas plant, they were telling me that they weren't wearing their monitors all the time. And they have monitors for H2S is a gas that'll kill you in about 3 minutes. And it'll just overtake you, and then you stop breathing, and then we have to call your family. So we have these monitors that tell people when it's there, and when the monitor goes off, you're supposed to get out to get to fresh air. Well, they were telling me they weren't wearing their monitors. They were getting lax about that. And I said, well, what's the problem? Why aren't you wearing your monitors? And they said, well, batteries. I said, well, what's wrong with the batteries? They said, well, they run out. I said, well, what could we do about that? And, surprise of all surprises, the workers say, we could get more batteries. That's what you should do. Yes, let's do that. Well, now they've actually invented new machinery that the batteries last for a very long time. So we've solved that problem, but my God, these things aren't impossible to fix.
Yes. So I know you are very grateful for life. So grateful life rather than grateful dead, I guess.
Yes.
Tell us about some of these photos before we get to some more videos and some more sharing, Alan.
Okay, well, I'm primarily a bass player. I started playing guitar when I was a really young fellow, and then I soon realized that guitar players were a dime a dozen, but not everyone could play bass.
Hmm.
So I started playing bass, and more girls didn't chase me
Hmm.
because I played bass, but I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoy being the background guy, the part of the rhythm section. So this is one of the bands I played with. This was Rita McDade and
Hmm.
the Fusion Blues Band. We did a CD and we did a release party, and that's a picture of us on stage at Festival Place. Yeah,
Rita
there's
McDade.
Rita.
We love Rita McDade.
Yeah, there was a fine group of musicians and amazing. It was an amazing experience. And you had Dan Sinisak as one of your guests. We actually recorded this at Dan Lynn's studio.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's some fine people there.
Yeah, that's Rita and you.
Yeah, it was quite a kick. Being a musician is great, and it is its own reward. But if you ever get a chance to actually perform in front of people who are responsive to what you're doing, it just kicks it up one more level. And
Hmm.
when we were playing Festival Place, and Festival Place is a wonderful venue. It's a small theater; it holds about 500 people, so it's still intimate, but it's a soft seater, and it feels good to be there. And I've played there a number of times with a number of groups. I play with a group of folks. We call ourselves Time Warp.
Hmm.
And there's four individuals that are the core. We've added and had a number of guests come on our stage with us, but these four people I've known for a very long time. And how we decide on the music we're going to play is everyone brings a list of songs they want to play.
Mm.
And we're quite eclectic. Tony's quite a bit, well, I shouldn't say quite a bit, a few years older than I. He
Hmm.
comes from more the doo-wop 50s kind of era. I'm firmly Beatles 60s kind of thing.
Hmm.
Rob, our drummer, he's maybe more 70s kind
Hmm.
of era. And then Alen, who's a wonderful guitar player, uh, we were talking one night. I said, "What's the first album that everyone had?" And mine was Paul Revere and the Raiders. I think
Mm.
Tony's was something like Dion and the Belmonts or something. I forget what Rob's was, but probably uh, you know more 70s stuff. But Alen's was Kiss.
Mm.
And I thought, well,
Hmm.
there's so much music that happened between the Beatles and Kiss. And
Hmm.
that's what makes this very eclectic. So Time Warp is a really interesting project. We've played Festival Place for charity a number of times. Yes.
I would like to show two videos. Tell me which one to start next. One is the Time Warp concert. The other one is Fusion Blues Band.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, don't play the whole clip because they're a
Yeah,
little long. So
you bet.
it doesn't matter. They're both two groups that I've enjoyed very much, and
All right. I will cue. I'm going to cue Time Warp up here right away. So
okay.
that is coming. Tell us about this clip while I'm queuing it up here.
I believe this is the one. Is this the one? The Wait.
Yeah, you bet.
This has been a long favorite song of mine since 1969, and it's one of the ones that I sang. Not because I'm a terribly good singer, but it has a little comedy piece to it. So if you can get to that verse, you'll know which one it is. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Now, do you
and
know
then
how far in it is, or where should we start?
well, no, you can start from the beginning.
All right.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah, it's not that long.
Yeah.
It's a
Time
great
Warp.
song. It's got some great harmonies, and one thing we can do in Time Warp is we've got enough vocal chops to do some harmony vocals. So
Hmm.
we've got our good friend Eric Martin, and that's June by Seagull, and that's Murray Schneider on the organ.
Just shake my hand, no, it's all
That's enough of that.
Fantastic, my friend.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah. I've always thought that was a gospel-y song, so I wanted to throw the gospel in there
Hmm.
and take a nod to that. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
You see, and that's exactly what I was talking about. You know, that's a well rehearsed song, and everyone knew what they were going to do. But I really didn't know what I was going to. You know, I was just on the fly.
Hmm.
I felt the inspiration and
Hmm.
wanted to do the hallelujah kind of approach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's a fantastic band you have on a wonderful, fantastic stage. I love Festival Place.
It's a wonderful place, and the folks there are just super. They really know how to treat musicians, and
Hmm.
that's not true of every place. So it's really a great place to play. You bet.
Hmm. Hmm. Would love to also share that other video. If let me just cue it up here. Tell us about this video with the blues band, Fusion Blue Band.
Houston Blues Band. This is probably the CD.
Yeah, you
Um,
bet. Yeah,
yeah, this was at the CD release. I think is this the live one I gave you? I'm sorry.
yeah. It's a live one. Live one. Yeah,
Yeah, I think this is with the choir.
yeah. You bet.
Yeah, the our guitar player, his sister is a choir instructor, and
Mm,
Rita was a vocal coach and teacher, and so we had a lot of Rita's students got together to be our choir, and it was such a thrill for me. These kids can sing,
mm,
and they did just such a great job. So this clip isn't so much about us as it is about these kids, and I
mm,
really had a good time. I was in the lucky spot of standing right in front of them, and
mm,
you know, I could see their expressions, and when you know, when people sing in harmony
mm,
and they get it right, it's magic. It's absolute magic. It's a hard thing to do. First of all, harmony singing is a difficult thing to do, and
mm,
takes a lot of rehearsal. And unless, of course, there are some people that are naturals, but I think even the naturals, that path to success looks messy. It's not a straight line. Anyway, these kids were great, and I had such a good time doing this song. So that's the
y-
intro.
you bet. Let's roll the clip here. Fantastic.
It was a fun song to work up for sure. It was a fun
Hmm.
song.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Now, I'd like to really share a couple other kind of you yourself, and I guess you yourself and yourself doing some B3 organ and also just some other quote unquote music video. Shall we share that? Do you have time?
Oh, sure, sure. Just as an intro, I'd mentioned Murray Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
When I was playing with Time Warp, we decided to do some songs that had B3 in it. I'm not much of a keyboard player, but I thought, oh, yeah, I can play a little keyboard, so we'll do these songs. And if I practice really hard, I can play them well enough to perform them.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with the sound of a B3 organ.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very popular sound, and Santana and Steppenwolf and a whole bunch of bands use B3s. And there's a local guy, Murray Schneider, and I actually met Murray first because of my interest in these B3s, and he's helped me understand those machines, and he's helped me understand how to play them. And I've had the joy of playing with Murray a lot, and I actually bought a B3 off of him, and as Dan Sinizak uses Murray as his tech too. So and this was me early in my B3 experience. I just wanted to see how it sounded. I wanted to see how it recorded. So I think it's the B3 noodling. I'm just noodling. I'm just playing, nothing specific, just wanting to hear what it sounds like.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now you have a bit of a B3 collection, if I remember correctly.
Well, I had a lot of Hammond organs. Yes, Hammond organs were first built in, I think, 1935, and there's been a lot of versions of them. There's A's, B's, C's, D's, but the most popular one was a B3. There's M's and L's and all different kinds of models, and I have owned a lot of them. And Murray was helping me understand how to fix them and how to adjust them. And so, yes, I have had a lot. Now I have my B3 that I love dearly. I've got a couple of electronic versions of B3s. It's pretty good. It's fun to be me. That goes on for a long time. Uh,
Oh, fun, fun, fun.
it's fun to noodle on the B3.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a great instrument. It's so expressive, and Keith, thanks for the compliments. It's good to it's easy to make a B3 sound great because they just sound great. When you play that note and you turn on the Leslie speaker, which is a rotating speaker, and it starts to go wah 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 wah, it's an incredible feeling. It's
Mhm.
powerful. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not a synthesizer that can do 1,005 sounds, but what it does really well, huh?
absolutely. It's yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I have some other questions for you, but before we go in there, I have another clip that I would love to show. You call it the My First Music Movie. Tell us about
Oh,
that.
yeah. Well, I have those pictures that you saw
Hmm.
were very much of my studio, and I have lots of. I'm lucky enough to have some guitars and resources, and so one of the things I've been learning how to do is to record and make music stuff. I call
Hmm.
my place downstairs Al's Grotto, right?
Hmm.
At one time, you had mentioned Hammond organs. I had six of them
Hmm.
downstairs, and they're big beasts, and there's six of them, and I had six Leslie speakers, and I got a little obsessed. But anyway, we've pared that down. But that's what that's all about.
Yeah, yeah. And well, us guitar players, whoever played guitar seems to be catching this virus called the guitar collection kind of
Absolutely.
blues, right? So here goes that little Mr. Quilley's first movie. Let's watch that. Is it? Let's go ahead and play it
Right.
here. Fantastic.
Thanks, Dune. Yeah, it was very much about learning how to multi-track record. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's that in itself is an art. That's a whole world that you could go deep into. I know you play with that stuff yourself,
yeah,
Dune.
yeah.
You
I
can
wish there was more hours in the day. You and I probably have
absolutely.
so many different interests and not enough hours, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know. I really have experienced boredom very seldom in my life. I have
Hmm.
so many things to do. If I get tired of doing one thing, I try to
Yeah,
do something else. So,
yeah, 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 yeah. There's this audio clip called "Blues Away." Do you want to share some of that, or?
oh yeah, it was really interesting when I was playing with Rita and the Fusion Blues Band. We decided that we were going to do a little CD, and
Mhm.
it was interesting. We had some of the members write some songs, and
Mhm.
this is Scott Alexander and Rita got together and wrote this, and I think it's a great song. It's a great song, and it was a fun song to play,
Mhm.
and very syncopated. I came up with a bass line that I quite liked. So
Yeah.
this is me playing bass, I guess.
Cool. Well, let's listen to it here and see how that goes.
I think you're having technical problems there, dude. Or at least it is on my end.
We're good on this side.
Oh, okay, good.
fantastic.
Those are those are a great group of musicians. And by the way, hi, Mike. I see Mike Chenoweth, who I made a lot of music with over the years, is
Yes.
stopped by. Great musician, Mike, and a master. He's a wizard at guitar repair. I think he even called his company that. So, if you're looking for guitar repair, Mike's the guy.
Right, right. So, Mike, hopefully you can hear the audio. I know you might have not hear the audio when I first started it, but yeah. So Mike says, yeah, there you go. So, Alan, as we reflect on the stuff that we shared over the hour and a bit here, we didn't have a meeting right after this, so we decided to go a bit long. And thank you for sharing all the additional stuff. And if you think about either a story or a sentiment or anything that you want to leave our viewers with, what might some of those thoughts be as you wrap this up?
Well, I think life is a series of forks in the road, and you never know which fork is the right fork to take. You go left, you go right, you go down the middle. The key, I think, to anyone being successful, and I've certainly tried to help people be successful in my life, and tried to be successful myself. I think the key is don't quit, don't stop, just keep going. Things will knock you down. Things will cause you to make mistakes. You will not get the consequence you always wanted, but that's okay. Just brush yourself off, get started again, and seek understanding of others, and just keep working at it. Don't quit. Don't quit.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about this photo, though, before we sort of wrap it up here. There's a photo here that I did not bring up earlier. Tell us about this one if you can see it.
Oh, this is Pam Proud. I played with the Pam Proud group for 20 some odd years and played bass and played guitar with them. Pam's a great entertainer, and we had a lot of fun in that group. We were one of the most popular wedding, company party bands in Edmonton, played casinos a lot. Had a lot of fun doing that. And after we had sort of retired from that, we decided that we would do some charity work. We're all fortunate enough to have our own companies and have ways to make money. So being a paid musician wasn't necessarily the thing that was driving us. So we decided to give back a little. And we've done a couple of things that were a charity, for charity and for feeling good. And it goes back to that human behavior. People contribute to charities because of the internal feelings that makes you feel good. It's the consequence that makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. So that's what this is about. Pam Proud, in various versions. We were also called Free Time. Because we were doing it in our free time. So that was the name of the band. But then Pam's quite an entertainer, so we put her up front and called it the Pam Proud Band. And we played a lot of casinos, a lot of weddings for 20 some odd years. Did a lot of music and had a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I got a thing from Mike Chenoweth that says, when we played Rita's song, I might have made a mistake where the audio wasn't coming through. Is that what you experienced as well over there, Alan?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, at first. Yeah.
And did you hear it later on, though?
It was about the last chorus that.
Oh, really? So it. I wish I didn't quite kind of understand that. So sorry about that. So there was a period when there was no music coming through for that song there. Yeah.
It's humans aren't perfect. We have to accept that, and like the troopers we are, we just go, oh well.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful song, and we missed some of the audio there.
That's okay. I saw you grooving though, so I knew it was good.
Yeah. Well, if I knew that it wasn't coming through at all, I would have done something to fix it. But yeah, it happens. Yeah.
You know, that's the thing about live. Live is the best. Live is
Mhm.
the best. And if Mike's still there, Mike and I used to jam together he hosted the best jam session in town.
Mhm.
And I used to go and it was just so fantastic because we would just let it rip. And it didn't matter what happened.
Mhm.
If we fell down and skinned our knees, that was okay. And if
Mhm.
it was brilliant, that was okay.
Mhm.
And it was just the experience of doing
Mhm.
it. And live music is like that. Live presentations like that. Some
Yeah.
days the wrong button gets pushed, and that's
Yeah.
okay. It just is. It just is.
Let me try this. Does this come through if I go like this? So sorry, Rita. Let's listen to Rita for a little bit.
To the river to observe the seventh day, praying he'll deliver me come judgment day. While I'm down at the river, wash these blues away. Going out to the country
Thank you so much for allowing me to try and make up for the auto mistake that I did earlier there. They have a lot of different things going there, but pressed the wrong button, I guess. So, Alan, let's hear from you to kind of take us home on this conversation, and we'll wrap it up here if you can.
Well, thanks, Dune, for doing this. It was a lot of fun. I highly recommend this to anyone who gets a chance to have a conversation with Dune and Friends. It's a positive experience for sure. And thanks for anyone who's listening and considering. I think that's the best we can do as fellow humans. Just consider each other, consider each other's ideas, and listen to each other, and take that in and make choices. So thanks again, Dune. I really appreciate it. It was great seeing you. We don't see enough of each other.
You bet. Thank you so much, Alan. Again, everybody, Mr. Alan Quilley, and thank you so much for sharing over the hour and a bit here. And to our viewers out there, have a wonderful day, and take good care of yourself and take good care of one another. And we'll see you again soon.
Stay healthy.
Healthy is a good thing.